What's up, y'all? I'm Oteil.
And I'm Mike, and we are on Patreon.
Get on the bus, you guys. Get your bus pass. We put out an additional episode every week where we answer questions from you, or sometimes we may just get off on a tangent about something important or cool that happened that day or a couple days ago.
Yeah, it's Oteil and I catching up, and you are invited. So if you head to patreon.com/comesatimepod, you can join us. You can get the bus pass. We have some incredible merch coming soon. We've got a lot of great surprises. So we would love to have you guys head on over.
Yes, most of all, we want to connect with you. So get on the bus, y'all.
Hey, welcome back to Comes a Time. I'm Mike.
I'm Oteil. What about that one, huh?
Let me tell you something. First off, this was my favorite episode. I've said we've had a lot of my favorites. This one's my favorite because I learned more about you in the past hour. You guys are about to hear Bill Walton interview Oteil.
Really?
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard. Dude, I'd like try first off. And for the listeners, you got to realize doing podcasting on Zoom, it's hard. You try to get a rhythm. Sometimes I'm talking to people I've never met before, and you got to try to not like interrupt. And thank you for trying to include me in this conversation. But dude, I was so happy to just put it in neutral and just enjoy the ride, because that was one of the greatest chats I think I've ever heard. I was a fly on the wall, and I'm honored to be.
I think Bill might be my biggest fan. Seriously, and I've known that before the podcast, but he just is like, what a force of nature. I have to say, man, I didn't realize how much pain he deals with on a regular basis and has dealt with.
I know, me neither.
39 operations.
Yeah.
He dealt with a lot of pain just from being that tall since he was really young.
Yeah.
But that outlook after all that and still dealing with it, to a certain extent, wow.
Biking as much as he does, being as healthy. I mean, he's pushing 70, he said, right? And I'm
68.
So just the energy he showed and sitting and talking to us was way more than most 58, 48, 38-year-olds that I know. But you know what, really?
And that hurt him too, because sitting there that long, he needs to
get up,
move around. Yeah. How long was that? That was a long podcast.
It wasn't. Yeah, it definitely wasn't short. And I'll tell you what too, man, the thing about him that I love listening to him, watching him play or seeing him at a show, talking about the dead, whatever, is, learning how he learned to talk later in life. Yeah. You could see that he's just the consummate professional. Practice. Like he's a coach at heart, and he's a supporter at heart. And you could tell just even the way that he tells his story, he's been practicing, and I'm a dude. We just another one in the list of guests we have to have back. That went too fast, and I can listen to him all day.
I was glad he said, when I come back, I was like, we got you on tape.
Well, everyone's going to love this. And we hope all of you, it's the holiday season, and it's a little bit rough for some. It's rough for all, but it's definitely harder for some than others. And Oteil and I, we just want to wish you guys the best and let you know how much we love you. And you're never alone. There's a lot of support out there, and a lot of, people that are willing to listen and lend a helping hand, and, find us on social media if you need to reach out or whatever. But I mean, Oteil, if you'd like to, we just want you guys to know we love you.
Yeah. And some of you know that I've answered you on your DMs, I read them, and, definitely reach out. And, we know sometimes the holidays can be hard. And so we're going to float this one out there for you, and we love you.
Yes.
We love you.
And thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to Osiris. Go to osirispod.com for all the great podcasts, and find us on Patreon if you want even more Mike and Oteil. we'll be talking about this one probably over there. Patreon.com/comesatimepod. We love you guys. Enjoy Bill Walton. Thank you, Bill. And peace, everyone. Stay safe.
Comes a time when the blind man takes your hand.
What's up, Bill? How you doing?
The time, here we go. O'Teal, the coolest dude ever. What's your buddy's name up there? Dead and Co?
Mike Finoia. He's an awesome stand-up comedian.
Finoia. Is that the capital of Finoia?
It is the capital.
What's the population of Finoia in Finoia?
2. My brother and I. Yes. Yes.
No dogs, no cats, no flies,
lots of unhuman, yes, population. My new dog, Cosmic Charlie, who is 5 months old.
Wow,
yes.
Very cool. We love dogs. I want to be Lori's dog.
Don't we all?
You look.
No invertebrates there, or did they all move up to Washington?
They all moved. They headed north, migrated. Where are you located? That looks like I want Finoia to look like that.
That's what I see when I do close my eyes. It's very difficult for me to close my eyes because I just get so excited about being alive. I spent half my life in the hospital, wasted half my time waiting around for something to happen. But now things are fantastic, going full speed ahead, and I'm just thrilled as can be because I am the blind man.
Yes.
That's right.
We've been waiting for you.
Can't you see?
Is the mural of life, and this is where I try to be at all times. Now, if I can't be on tour with O'Teal and whatever band he's playing in, how many bands are you in these days, O'Teal?
0 right now.
It's in the Comes a Time a cappella group.
It sounds as if your career is mimicking mine. So,
Hey, last time.
song. Come on, what's the song we can open with?
Wait a minute. Last time I talked to you, you had like 7 Zooms that day.
I'm a really good singer. Now, come on.
All right.
You're like,
How about I think, man, if I knew the way.
I have the first words to Ripple.
That's what I was thinking. Ripple, man.
Okay. Ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Join me. Come on, O'Teal. Come on, Mike, join in.
Doo-doo.
Sunshine. That's all I know.
My tunes were played on a harp unstrung.
Strong.
You're the band. Here we
You
go.
hear my voice.
Hey man, I got a bass here. Shoot.
Bill,
O'Teal, how many instruments do you play?
Well, I'm
Different instrument. You may be the most multi-instrumental guy I've ever come across.
no, I wouldn't only play a couple on a gig. I've been messing around a lot more with piano.
I love the piano. I love to practice.
Yeah. Me
I
too.
wish I
It's
knew
like
how to play
a nice
piano.
acoustic piano is just, even if you're not good on it, if it's tuned up, we bought a good one. And man, I just love to mess around on it. So I've gone down the rabbit hole with that one. I got my drum set up over here again. Bass. I play a little guitar, more banjo. I've been really getting into banjo. But I don't mess around with horns anymore. I don't have the amateur and,
I started on horns. I started on the horns, and then I transitioned to the drums, and then I transitioned to add the piano because I still play the drum. Although Mickey Hart will be the first to tell you that, Bill, you don't play.
But you played.
Horning ceremony. I was there in Madison Square Garden at the horning ceremony. Please, where is that crown? That crown that signifies the supreme excellence of my friend O'Teal. I only have one friend named O'Teal.
You know what's funny? I recently saw someone posted something on Instagram, and I was tagged in it. And if I'm not mistaken, I was wearing this shirt in that horning ceremony that night. I was wearing the same shirt. That headdress is in my road case, which I think is in New Jersey, because that case went to that Allman Brothers gig where I caught COVID and a bunch of other people did at Madison Square Garden on March 10th. But it's still in that case. I do need it here, like hanging on the wall. Just.
Are you having a tough time? It sounds like you've only got one shirt. I've got some friends, man. I got Dieter, I got Mike Dubois. I got all the guys from all the years, 53 years with me on the tour with the Grateful Dead. If you need some shirts, let me know. I used to have the greatest shirt collection ever. And then our children became teenagers. And we threw it, man. And it was all good because they were wearing it and everything. And then I had the greatest music collection. This was back in the 80s. And I had, because in those days it was cassette tapes. And so the tapers would send me some. They'd give them to me at the concerts, or Ramrod or Harry or Betty. They would give me tapes too. And I had this phenomenal tape collection that was a little bit more organized than the rest of my life. And I was on a road trip one time, and I playing this one particular tape over and over and over again, because I'm one of those guys that when I find something that's really good, I just put it on repeat. And it goes. And Lori, after a couple months of the same song, of the same tape, Lori just finally has to go over there and push stop and say, please, how about something else? And so I went on this road trip and left it in there. And when I came home, the children, they had re-recorded rap music from the 80s over the incredible masterpiece.
Oh, no.
And then they went through and destroyed the rest of the tape collection as well. And fortunately now everything is digital. And really fortunately, the job that Rhino does, and Mark Pincus and Doran and David Lemieux, oh my God. Yeah.
We are very lucky. You know, when you talk to music fans that are into other styles or other genres, and they're not too privy on how much the Grateful Dead takes care of us, and you go, oh, you could just listen to live shows throughout their entire catalog. And they're like, Jesus, man, I wish our bands did that. And it's like, well, we got room on the bus for you, One
of the things that's phenomenal about the Grateful Dead is the respect that the band has for the fans.
Absolutely.
If it's not cool, we're not doing it. And if it is cool, we're doing it over and over and over again. It's just absolutely incredible, because that relationship, which drives and inspires loyalty. Now, I had this coach. I used to play basketball many, many years ago. And I had these coaches, right? Excellent coaches. I don't know who your coach is, Oteil. And Finoia, Finoia, the capital of Finoia. So,
population too.
Who was really into the philosophical aspects of life. And so he constructed this path forward where he thought that there was 15 words, 15 human values and personal characteristics that he thought were important in life for you to be successful. Things like industriousness and enthusiasm, friendship, loyalty, cooperation, intentness, initiative, alertness, self-control, physical fitness, skill development, commitment to the team, poise, confidence, competitive greatness, faith and patience, all kinds of stuff, right? And so loyalty, where did he put that? He put that right at the bottom, right at the foundation, right in the middle. So, because without loyalty, nothing happens. Because loyalty, described as, do you care? And I care, and that's why I'm on this show. Comes a time, here we go. Find me. Please. There's a lot of people out there that I want to take their hand and show them and ask them, can't you see? Please, what's going on? Now, Oteil, you sing the song. Is it can't you see or don't you see? I can't remember.
I was, I think it's don't, because I had this, I was like, I think I heard both. And I was like, wait a minute, is it can't? But I think I was singing can't most of the time. It's funny you mentioned that.
I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, it's kind of like American Beauty, American Reality. What does it say? It says both. That's what I love about it.
And what does it mean? And that's the great thing about our world, is that it means what we're feeling today. And I am feeling proud because I'm on this TV show with my friend Oteil, who's always so kind and always so nice. When I look at him there with his beautiful shirt, now I just did a show the other day with Dr. J, and I'm now are you old enough to know who Dr. J is?
Yes.
Man, Dr. J was my Michael Jordan. I'm 56. I ran into Dr. J with my wife at a restaurant, and she's 37. So she didn't even know who he was, and I'm freaking out. And here's a woman that sees me, never gets starstruck. Like Clapton's there, I'm like, hey, he seems like a nice guy. Dr. J's sitting there, and I'm like coming unglued, and I'm just trying to explain. I'm like, Dr. J was the Michael Jordan, or I guess LeBron now, of my era, and he was so sweet. I actually didn't even bother. But
So there's this lineage that starts with Elgin Baylor in the world of basketball. Elgin Baylor, then Connie Hawkins, and then Dr. J, and then it goes to Thompson, and then it goes to Dominique Wilkins, and then Michael Jordan, and Kobe, and then LeBron today. And I'm sitting there doing the show, and we're talking, and now I'm sitting there doing your show, and you look just like Dr. J with that ego and that incredible poise and confidence and that ability to just dominate everything. And that capability when it's all on the line and Oteil just steps right forward into that shaft of light and he just lays one down. Just it's one of those explosions of life that basically emulates the beginning of the universe. Yeah. As the universe continues to reform and reshape and create new planets and new opportunities here, dizzying possibilities, what a thrill and pleasure it is to be with my friend Oteil, who's just so clean and so poised and so polished. And I'm asking myself, what am I doing here?
You look fantastic, Bill.
Oh my
you
God.
do, man. I got to tell you that. It's like the height.
Go ahead, Oteil. I'm sorry.
I need some help. Help. I'm 68. Now, you said that Jess is, I forget how old, but I'm 68, and Lori, I think, is 19, maybe 20. We have 6 children and 14 grandchildren. I know you have Nigel and Kavi, and so it's just it's just wonderful to see the families grow and build and evolve and develop and change and rosters and how in life, like a song, like a concert, like a tour, the ebbs and flows and the river and the waterfalls and the volcanic explosions and the mosquito river and just everything that's going down and how when it's all said and done, the band still is playing. Wow.
So awesome.
What's your brother's name?
My brother's name is Robbie.
Brother.
Opie,
I'm sorry.
he passed away a couple of years ago. Kobe, but he was my mentor, man. He was one of my biggest. Both my mentors passed away, him and Colonel Bruce Hampton. But God rest their souls. I feel like they're still communicating with me, man. We're gonna do a Comes a Time episode about that, about this mystical stuff that keeps happening to us. And I do feel like I get messages from them, man. Or
what was your brother's name and how long ago did he pass and how much older was he than you?
His name was Kofi. He passed away 2 years ago, and we might become, is it 2.5 now? Or are we coming up on 2? God, since the pandemic, my time thing is now gone. But he was 3 years older than me. And I was
time, you know. So I've got a brother too. An older brother who also passed away. He passed away, and he was fantastic. Now, he wasn't so fantastic in the early days, but then when he realized that he had the responsibility of being the big brother, then he became very, very cool. We went to UCLA together, and he went on and played in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys. And my brother Bruce and I are the only brother combination in the history of the world to have ever played in the Super Bowl and to have played in the NBA Finals. Now, I don't know where your musical identity, interest, drive, inspiration comes from, if that came from your parents or not. But my parents, our parents, I'm one of 4 children, our parents are the least athletic people you've ever seen. They have no interest in sports. But greatest parents ever. But I found sports through my first coach, who was the volunteer coach at our elementary school a couple miles from our home. And he was the volunteer coach there for 59 years.
Wow.
He was the local fireman, and he had 3 children going to the same school. And he saw a huge need, and he said, I got to take care of this. And so he organized a sports program at our school. And just the coolest dude ever. He passed away a couple years ago, 59 years as a volunteer,
Man.
never took a dime. When he died, he was the richest man I've ever known. He was just joyful and happy. And it was like, we get to go play ball today. Let's do this. And then after he organized our school, he went around to every other fire station in San Diego where we live. And he said he would go and talk to the captain of the fire station, because Rocky was the captain too. And he said, you got to do the same thing in your elementary schools, in your neighborhoods.
Wow.
And so he organized this entire sports program for the entire city of San Diego in the 50s and the 60s, and then just kept it going all through. And then everybody went on then to the high schools, and the high schools in those days, fabulous sports and physical education programs. But then everything changed when people started realizing that, hey, man, I'm into selfishness and greed and lack of honor and violence and hatred. And it was like, give me shelter, please. When's the next Dead tour starting so I can get out there and find something nice and happy and positive and inclusive and diverse and everything? Wow. And then OTL, and everything just took it off to the next level. How long have you been there now in the Grateful Dead?
Oh, man, I guess like 4 years now. Yeah,
4 years.
It's 4 years. It's flown by. Yeah, because Nigel's 5. And he was, so it's almost 5, because he was 4 months old when I got the gig, you know?
I remember when Nigel was first coming around, such a cute little baby.
Yeah. You know what's funny though, man? Like it's interesting to hear this, because I always think of you as this incredible, just like unstoppable beacon of light. But what I'm seeing as I hear more stories about you, have these beacons of light that were in your life, like from this guy that started this thing that was at the firehouse. So you always had someone along the way at all these different points that was really like that thing for you too. Is that correct?
So my whole life has been spent in search of the master teachers.
Yeah.
To go out there and find them, and then to learn from them, and just hang on to them as long as they'll let me hang around. And it was fantastic in my life, because while my parents were not into sports, you know, they had created this remarkable culture in our family of curiosity, exploration, and experimentation. And my dad was a social worker, an adult educator by night, and a music on the weekend. And he could play any instrument, and he could sight read, he could play by ear. He's a great singer. He loved music. But he had to make money. And so he became a social worker and an adult educator. And then my mom, she was the town's librarian. And so we just had nothing but books all the time. And I just love reading about adventure, about history, biography, about why people succeed in life. And one of the overriding themes on the path to success is that, as we're all chasing this dream, that when we come to the hurdles, when it seems like it's not going to happen, when the adversity is just overwhelming and just crushing us, some complete stranger will just come into your life and all of a sudden give you that little boost, give you the edge, hand you $10, open his hand, and say, come with me. And that is what the Grateful Dead is all about. And that's what I found when I was 15 years old. I grew up in a classical music household. And it was in 1967, 2 years after the Grateful Dead took their current name from the Warlocks. But I was listening to the early days of FM radio because the Dead, they got no play whatsoever on it. But then the came, and they got plenty of play, and it was fantastic. And the disc jockey, he just loved the Grateful Dead. He loved the culture and the spirit and the vibe and everything. And just the way he talked about it, I said, man, I got to go to this. I didn't have a record player. We just had the radio. And we had nothing in terms of material possessions. We had nothing in terms of stuff. But man, what a life I had growing up outside in San Diego where we still live. I was born less than a mile right over here. My mom, who's still alive, 93, lives in the same house we all grew up in. She lives 10 minutes right over here.
No kidding.
Our children are all still in California, and our second oldest, after 25 years out there chasing it down, he just finally said, "Dad, you're right. San Diego is the greatest place. I'm moving home, Dad." Because these days, it doesn't matter where you live, and because everything is virtual, and all the jobs we do everything is changing, and in our lives of uncertainty, where we're the ultimate entrepreneurs, where it's about what we're doing today, right? And so that ability to create our own identity, to create our own skill set, our own package that is saleable, that is marketable, and that can be done because of technology from anywhere. And we live right here in San Diego. And I can't wait for Jess and Nigel and Kavi to come over here, but please have a vaccination.
And they're going to be the ones that are, it's the younger generation and down that are going to be the powerhouse moving forward. I mean,
it's always that way. And that's what's so great about when you're on tour with Dead and Company right now. I mean, the audience is so young. It's just
wild.
Come on. The reason we all keep coming back is that you guys, Oteil, Bob, BK, and Mickey, and Jeff, and John, you guys make us happy. And it's just so fun to be there. And everybody's having the time of their life. Everybody's smiling. Everybody's high-fiving each other, hugging and kissing and dancing. And why can't every day be like this?
I know, it's nuts.
Well,
just the sense of anticipation, the sense of being part of something that's bigger, more important, has purpose in your life than just your own little dribbling, isolated world that is not appealing to me at all. I'm a team guy. I want to be part of something that's very special. And so I mentor a lot of young people. They're always coming to ask me, Bill, what do I do? How do I get there? And I always say, find something as quick as you can that means something like what the Grateful Dead does to me. That it's, it gives you organization, it gives you structure, it gives you purpose in life, and that takes effort and takes a lot of work to make it happen, because then when you have that in your life as an anchor, anything is possible, and it just brings it all together, particularly when I get to see yesterday Dr. J and today Oteil. That's perfect. I mean, put your hand up on the screen there, Oteil. Put your hand up.
Let me tell you something. If somebody could have told me when I was young and watching Dr. J, and literally, and to young black kids, he was like God. He was like a demigod. He was like right below God. He
was higher than that, because he was a guy transcended. He transcended, and he was such a breaker of barriers. I mean, here was a guy who was making national level commercials for mainstream products before any other guy was. Joe Namath got that started, but then it quickly went to Dr. J, and the business acumen that he had, and the class and the dignity and the style, poised, and just so eloquent, just like Oteil. It was fantastic because of all the guys I ever played against. There were better players. Kareem was a better player. Kareem was a better player than anybody I ever played against. But Dr. J, he was the single most dynamic, vibrant, exhilarating, and exciting player I ever played against. And when he would come down that court, man, we're just waving that ball out in front of you. And did you ever have an afro?
Oteil, dude, everybody, he had the most perfect fro, dude. We all wanted that fro.
Oh, and it was like he would run so fast that he would create his own wind, and it would just go back and forth, and he would just keep coming at you. And it was very much like O'Teal just laying it down, boom, slam. Now here we are. It all rolls into one, but nothing comes for free. If we only had the Horning helmet here to put it on. I was sad to see Paul Horning during this COVID.
Yeah.
No.
And one of the things we're really missing is the inability to celebrate the lives of the people who have created so much. Now, you guys are significantly younger than I am. Mike, are you 22 yet or not?
41.
Finoia.
41, sir.
68 here.
Okay.
But Paul Horning, when I was growing up, man, the Golden Boy, the Green Bay Packers, and Vince Lombardi, and it was just fantastic. And I got to know all these people the same way that I've gotten to know guys like O'Teal in the course of my life. And who would have ever thought? I talk to my mom every night before I go to bed. And, she's 93, and she always asks me, she says, Billy, did you ever get a job? But I'm still out there plugging away, and I've got to meet so many of the most interesting people in the world because of my friendship and relationship with all things Grateful, and also because of my relationship with UCLA and the NBA for all these years now. It's just been absolutely spectacular. It's still going here.
Yeah,
I think it's all because of you, man. You're just such a light, and I'm sure you brought that same light you bring to us in the Grateful Dead community onto the basketball court, and I just love it.
The first time I saw the Grateful Dead, I just couldn't believe how much fun it was and how happy everybody was.
When was that?
When or where? Or both?
When or both. Yeah, both.
It was in 1967 and 53 years ago. And it was somewhere in the Los Angeles area because in those days, there was no maps and there was no Google and there was no anything other than, okay, there's a radio. And the guy said there's going to be a concert. And so nobody had any money. Nobody had a car. Nobody had a driver's license. We were 15 years old. But one of the guys, his parents were out of town. And so he said, well, let's just take my parents' car. And so we drove up there with nothing, just, our shorts and our T-shirts and, tennis shoes. And we started just driving around. We started seeing people heading in one direction. And so we followed them, and sure enough, we got to the concert, and we left the car, and we got up there, and we somehow got in. I don't know. I can't remember how we got in because we didn't have any money. But we got right to the front row, and I never left. And it was just it was a time of that. Although people appreciate it now that I don't actually stand in the front row anymore.
You back up, you please.
Yeah. Backed up a little bit, and because of the health challenges that I'm sometimes still facing, then I sometimes hang out at the soundboard, and I sometimes hang out further back. But when I'm feeling really good, I want to get up close, and I want to just be right there in the pit, and I want to be able to see all the sweat, and I want to feel and bathe in all the love and the warmth, and bask in the goodness that exists with the Grateful Dead. And I'm just the luckiest guy in the world because now, O'Teal, won't you please sing more? Come on,
I know.
Can you sing, I don't know, what can you sing, God Bless America or the Star Spangled Banner?
No, let's stick to Grateful Dead.
Oh, sure.
I'll do it. I'll take a knee and do it.
I'm in full support of all that stuff.
I know you are.
We have so many crises going on right now. It's about time. It comes a time, like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
The sad racial history of our country, the tragic racial history. How are we going to move beyond it? And I'm just so disappointed because California, we just had a ballot initiative here that was defeated. Yeah. We were trying to bring affirmative action back. And unless you know the history, it's not a level playing field. And it's not right that we do not have affirmative action to give other people a chance. And
the affirmative action I'd like is for them to let out all these people that smoke pot that are in prison. Like that would be, like they destroyed so many lives doing that over so many decades, man. It needs to stop.
The biggest mistake was as big a mistake as ever been made. It just changed everything. And hopefully with the transition in Washington right now, that we're going to get rid of the private prisons. We're going to get rid of all the just have a world of common sense, a world of peace, a world of love, a world of respect for ourselves, respect for other people, and respect for our planet Earth. And boy, am I ever so ready for all of that. And I'm also really ready for the next tour, but I'm not sure that that's going to happen. And,
we're going to have a vaccine for that, man.
And we're going to have to be able to take the vaccine. I don't understand this, people that, this stuff about not taking vaccines. I mean, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand suspicion and stuff, but, I think, just hearing you talk about the concerts, it's like, it's killing me. You paint such a vivid picture. And I'm just like, yeah, give me the vaccine. Let's go. Come on, let's get this thing.
And fly away, fly away.
You're like the point, Phil. You've been the point on the compass a couple times for me, man. Just being up there, like from now, Teal, you're seeing them from stage out. I'm seeing them from a couple of sections back, and when I'm looking around and I need to capture my bearing, there's Bill. And I'm able to see you at like fare thee well. There were moments where I was watching you get the music, and it was like making me sob, and it was that was one of the most unbelievably powerful.
Gio, were you there? I know you didn't. Phil was playing then.
I did. Kreutzmann flew me out to the very first one. Nigel was so young. Jess didn't want to stay 2 nights away from him, but we did the first one. And I remember the rainbow, man. Oh.
So, that's the problem, is when you go to the first one, you never want to leave. You just say, well, the rest of the stuff, it'll still be there when we get back. So let's just keep going. It's sort of like why I have to ride my bike in the afternoon. And because if I ride in the morning, I will just keep going all day. If I go to the first Grateful Dead show of the tour, I just keep going for the whole rest.
Amen, man.
And we're going home and they sing Liberty. Leave me alone. I can find my own way home.
Leave me alone.
I have a bike group and we bike every morning at 6:30. Chad Steinberg.
Chad.
Yeah.
I know you ride Bike for Humanity all the time.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we talk about you a bunch when we're right. So we said, man, if we have to, this morning, it was just me and him because a couple of the other guys didn't make it. And we were like, I told him, I said, Bill's coming on today. It's like, we got to ride with Bill. He was like, I'll fly to San Diego. I was like, I will too, man. I will do it. He's like, I'm sure Bill can find us a couple of bikes out there.
We'll take care of you when you get here. Don't worry. We got it all covered. And I love my bike. And my bike is very much like the Grateful Dead. It's science, technology, teamwork, engineering, discipline, preparation. But ultimately, what it is freedom and independence. And that is the Grateful Dead. It's like, okay. I remember the old, when there used to be tours, the big grand tours, and the buses, with all the fans' buses would be on the tours, and they had the one on the side of it. It said, "We do what we want." The whole sense of independence and freedom, which your bike allows you to celebrate each and every. That Chad Steinberg, man, what a cool dude. So very smart. And he loves the Grateful Dead. He loves life. And, man, he is just one very unique spiritual force of nature, much like Oteil there.
Thank you for being a part of Comes the Time podcast. It's an honor to bring this to you with my pal Oteil. Enjoy. Hi, Oteil.
Hi, Mike.
Wow, you sound fantastic today.
I feel fantastic.
What's making you feel so fantastic?
I don't know. Everything feels so clear and Maybe it's our new throat spray that we got when we got our first new sponsor.
Ba-ba-da-da.
Da-da-da.
Clier Throat 37.
All natural. Let's see what it's got in here. Echinacea,
Bottle.
green tea leaf, elderberry, thyme herb, red clover, myrrh, kelp. How much more natural could you get?
I mean, I don't think you can. And it's in this amazing little spray bottle, and it doesn't numb your throat. It just gives you that nice, mellow feeling. And as, you know, professional podcasters now, and a comedian and a singer, an amazing singer, and an okay comedian.
Amazing comedian.
Thank you, Oteil. We have had that where you're on the road or you're feeling raspy and you can't get that nice feeling, that nice smooth feeling. But Clier has created an incredible product and it works. And now comes a time listeners can get it at home, 10% off Throat 37 at clier.com/Throat37 with promo code TIME. That's CLYOR.com/Throat37. Promo code TIME.
Try it out.
Yeah,
I
think
did.
You should get it. I
Because
think it's great.
when I podcast, I do this. And so it makes it better when I do this.
Enjoy it, and thank you for listening, and go support our sponsors, Clier.
And remember, Comes a Time is part of the Osiris Media family. You can catch all the Osiris podcasts on osirispod.com.
Who were your music teachers early on? I mean, were your parents musicians?
Well, you know what's funny is like I had kind of the same thing as you. My dad was a social worker. He worked with juvenile delinquents, and he wanted to be a musician, but he didn't feel like he was good enough. So he really wanted the family thing most of all, and so did my mom. My mom was a nurse at DC General Hospital for like 30 some years, but they were very supportive of us doing music because they realized really early on that Kofi had perfect pitch, and all of us, my two sisters, Leilani and Daryl, were very talented at music also. So they really supported us in it and encouraged it. And they also wanted to keep us off the streets, you know. But then, you know, Kofi ended up winning 2 Grammys, and I got a couple of Grammys before he passed away. So, you know, we did pretty well, even though they weren't musicians, you know. So they were great, though, man. Well, they still are. My parents are still alive. My mom caught COVID and really didn't have that rough of a time of it at all. She's 85. My dad's 89.
And are you and your brother Kofi the only brothers who have won Grammys?
Yeah, my sisters didn't end up going into music. They didn't end up doing it for a living, but they were both really talented at it.
So what have you been doing with your time right now in COVID? You just...
You know, me and Mike really have been doing this most of all. Like, I'm so glad that we met, because we met last November, I think, when I did his podcast. And we became fast friends, and we had talked about doing a podcast together about spirituality. And then, because we both had some really intense mystical experiences happen to us. But then
I go to the Grateful Dead concerts. I have...
and we do too, you know,
right.
And like, and so then when the pandemic happened and the shutdown and George Floyd got murdered and all this stuff. So we were just like, you know, we need to go full steam ahead with this. Like it was right before, and it's right now. It's just expanded its scope. And so a lot of most of my time has been oriented toward this and being with my family. And then now I'm also doing this video series of online based lessons to explain like 6 strings, extended harmony stuff to whoever is interested.
How do I sign up for that? Because I want to get better in life. I want to be able to lay one down and have the whole universe just reverberate with the brilliance and the power. And oh man, that flesh-eating low end. We love that. Yeah. Bring more of that, man. How do you make the transition from one band to another?
Well, you know, it's what I do is I treat them each as what they are. You know, it's like it's almost like you don't really worry about if I'm going to eat Mexican food tonight, Chinese food, this night, Italian food this night, sushi this night, and Indian food, and then Thai food, and which is what we do. We got to go around the globe in a circle with food.
Lori's fantastic cook. Oh.
Well, we're not great cooks, but we eat we eat at really good places. But we're not good cooks yet. So we're working on that. We'll do it. But it's the same thing with bands. Like I just treat them. Each one is unique. Like people ask me, how do you play with two drummers? I'm like, I treat them as one drummer. Like J-Mo and Butch with the Allman Brothers are a unique thing, and Bill and Mickey are a unique thing. And I treat them both as one big drummer and just let it be what it is. So I don't have a hard time transitioning. I let them be what they are, and find where I interface with them. I'm sure it's like playing on different teams, right?
Right. You have to get into the mindset and the psyche of your teammates, and so
yes, exactly.
Figure out, okay, what can I do to make these guys better? How can I help them play better? And how has it been for you to make the adjustment into the world of the Grateful Dead?
I mean, it's been great. I was fortunate that I had that kind of preface, meeting Colonel Bruce at the time when I did, which interestingly enough happened just when you said, like you said, when you're down and then the universe brings you someone to and I realized every time I was down in my life, that person came. And that time it was Colonel Bruce. And if it was not for him taking me back through the old folk musics, Delta blues, really old black gospel, really old bluegrass and country, and that prepared me for the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead, because I just had more of the classical and jazz. The folkiest thing I was into was funk. You know what I mean? And
George Funk.
Yeah, James Brown, the Meters, George Parliament Funkadelic, Sly Stone, Tower of Power.
Okay. When are you going to bring some of that out on the tour?
Oh, dude, that's coming. That's coming. And my banjo music is coming. Dude, Afrobilly. I got all this banjo stuff, but with African rhythms and kind of Otili jazz harmonies or whatever. Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff coming. And I'm going to try to have Mike out opening for Otili and Friends so we can bring the whole Comes a Time thing on the road and have him do an hour of stand-up before we play. It's going to be cool.
How much are you practicing these days?
A lot, man. I didn't play at all because, that career, when I would get home, I wouldn't play bass. I would play banjo or drums when I had drums set up, which I did for the last 4 years, or piano. And now I took a long break. I didn't play bass a lot. I was just hanging with the kids. And then it just came back. All of a sudden and my buddy Tom Guarna showing me some things that I was curious about sent me down a rabbit hole. Now it feels like I'm 17 again. So I think me and Mike have kind of had that same kind of thing where you're trying to figure out what is this being trapped at home, but you got to go out and gig a little bit, Mike, more so than I did, but now that's shut down. Right.
Yeah.
So
there were a couple stand-up comedy gigs that were outdoors, that were at drive-in theaters and outside shows. It didn't have that same feel. Comedies that you want a nice low ceiling and a tight room, like a little smoky old jazz club type feel. But it was
scenario. Did you ever read Born Standing Up by Steve Martin?
Absolutely. Yes, it's the greatest book. The foreword of the book explains stand-up. He calls it the ego's last stand, and it's just really true. I mean, the way that he somehow is able to put into words the feeling of you've just delivered a joke. You're processing whether it went over well. You're thinking what's coming next while what's happening now is coming out of your mouth. So it's like three different things happening all at once. And the way that he put it, I read the foreword and had to put it down and be like, boy, that he nailed exactly how I feel. He's been my favorite ever since I was a child.
And he's a great banjo player.
Yeah. And a huge, to see pictures of him and Jerry together, made me so happy,
I'm not aware of those pictures. Share them with me, please.
Absolutely.
We will, man.
I'll find
Jerry was a great banjo player. People have realized Jerry picked that up first, man. because I hung out with serious, the best banjo players on earth are like my friends. And when I started getting into Jerry, I was like, oh my God, his Old and in the Way. When I started getting into banjo myself, I keyed in more on Old and in the Way. And I was like, wow, Jerry's killing this. Like, it's really authentic. It's amazing, man.
I'm holding back on you now because at the beginning of this show, was that today still? Anyway, at the beginning of the show, you asked me what songs, right? So I got some songs that I've been working up. How about The Bright Side of the Road, See What Love Can Do, and then Waiting for a Miracle.
Waiting for a Miracle.
Would just fit right into your repertoire. But so, who taught you how to sing?
You know what's funny is I sang a little bit with my band, but I was never good at it. I just kind of did it out of necessity. And I sang a teeny bit with the Allman Brothers. You know, they just try to give Greg a break, try to give Warren a break. You know, actually the song I used to sing the most with the Allman Brothers was Franklin's Tower. Interestingly enough, right? But when I got with Dead and Company, I got inner ear monitors.
You get confused. Listen to the music play.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
Another Time's Forgotten Space.
That's what's behind you is Another Time's Forgotten Space.
That's the suburbs of Finoia back there.
That's right. But yeah, when I got inner ear monitors with the Dead, they gave me all the highest harmonies. I remember asking Bob. I said, Bob, you know, my range is more down here, you know. And he goes, new guy gets the bird calls. I was like, all right. So I'm singing super high, man. Like literally as high as I could sing. But I could hit the notes. And I was like, oh, because the inner ear monitors, I wasn't straining. So I thought, well, maybe I can't sing. Because I had a voice teacher when I took over singing in my band. And she was like, oh, you have a beautiful voice. I was like, I don't know what you're listening to, but
you do have a beautiful voice. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Look how young Steve Martin is. Oh, my God.
You see that, guys?
Wow.
Look at that picture.
Yes, we can. Look how young he is. And look at that smile on Jerry's face.
Yeah.
Man.
From Another Time in the Days, somewhere in the 70s. I believe that this was at some bluegrass festival.
John McEwen, yeah.
Yeah.
So what struck me at Martin Bourne standing up was his journey.
Amazing.
Very similar, everybody kind of has the same journey. You know, you start with nothing, you have a dream, and then all of a sudden you go out there. And I was listening to Oteil talk about his singing career, and one of the things that you learn in the life that we've been able to lead is that those who are not willing to risk going too far will never know how far we can go.
Amen.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Dr. J, who graduated high school, he was 6'3". And he was a defensive player and a rebounder and kind of a team guy away from the ball. And then he gets up there to UMass Amherst, and he grows 3 or 4 inches, and he starts realizing, hey, the rest of these guys, they can't hang with me. And then the rest is history. Yeah. And now Oteil, he's out there singing all the time. And I tell you, the rest is history, because we would love it if you just sang a lot.
Hell yeah.
But you know, Colonel Bruce was the one that told me that. He said, your idea of what you are, Oteil, is this big. And what you are, what you actually are, is like, really limitless. So you got to stop limiting yourself. And a lot of times I go back and talk to that, 24-year-old Oteil and be like, if someone had told you were going to be singing lead at Citi Field, or what was it, Gillette Stadium, where the Stones play, would you have even believed them? But Bruce was the one who was like, you got to overshoot that mark, which was kind of like what my parents were telling me, just shoot the moon. So there's another one to live by, Oteil. Never measure yourself by what you have done, but rather by what you could have or should have been able to do. Please take us through how you met Colonel Bruce Hampton there. Oh, wow. I met him exactly like what you said. I was down and out, just like, wow. Even questioning, like, I had no other thing that I was good at besides music, so I couldn't leave it. But I was like, if I could leave it for something else, I might. And then my buddy Jeff Sipe was like, you need to meet this guy, Colonel Bruce. Everybody goes to play with him when they want to get their yayas out. And then he guessed my birthday within 4 minutes of when I was born, and he didn't even know my last name. And that freaked me out because we'd only known each other 20, 30 minutes. And I was just like, what? And I know I was born at 1:57, and he said 2 a.m. And so he was like, 3 minutes off. I was like, what? And then so the mystical thing again was like, not subtle, like blam right in the face. And so I'm not dumb. I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on with you. You look like a homeless guy, but I just followed him. And he just took me on paths that I never would have thought to go on myself, So it was, I give a lot of credit to my parents, Kofi, and him for really just like enabling me and pushing me and also helping me, guiding me,
How much interaction are you having with the Grateful Dead as a group right now?
We have group texts that we go, it's so funny, like these texts, because these guys are the king of bad jokes, right? So someone will text about something that's, hey, blah, 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 whatever it is. And then the first bad joke will go. And then 50 texts later, it's just like the series of bad jokes. And it's funny, but I love it because there's that kind of camaraderie, it's like our little group thing. So it's been nice, right after the election, there was a little group texting and, if somebody passes or whatever, or just, hey, how you guys doing? It's been nice getting those.
And so what do you do in terms of your musical practice solo in your life at home there? But, you're part
now, I'm lucky now. We bought a new house, and so that Jess could have studio space and I could have studio space. So now I have my drums set up again. My audio interface is going to show up any day now, and then it's going to be on, dude. The banjo record's coming out, and I'm practicing again. But, a lot of it is you just have to do it all from here, and that's what we're doing, teaching from here, podcasting from here, and you got to, like you said, the technology's changing, and we got to adapt, and we're just doing our thing as best we can now. I feel bad for Mike because up where you are, Mike, I mean, it's really, the cold has stopped it. Down here in Florida, I'm actually going to try to pull off some shows in December, which have not been announced yet, but probably will be by the time this comes out. And because it's warm here, perpetually. So I can gig outside December, January, February, March, and we just roll. It never stops. So hopefully I can do that. I would like to do like a weekly thing. And if we can pull that off, I'd love to get Mike down, but his wife's a nurse. So he has to be very strict about quarantine stuff when there's no margins.
Because we're not it's going to prolong it and exacerbate all the challenges and the problems. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, but I don't have to fly here. Like the place that we want to play is 5,000 seats, but they only seat 500. So we'll be selling pods from like 2 to 5 if we pull this off. And so that is safe. Everybody can be extremely distanced. It's just people having to fly here. If Mike's got to fly
I'll
here,
just get, I'll get a catheter and I'll get a quarter of weed and I'll bring my tapes and I'll drive there and I'll just listen to the same tape over and over.
Just come stay here for a month.
Ride your bike down there. Bike for humanity.
Hell yeah, man. How many miles a week? How many miles a week do you ride, Bill?
It all depends on my health, which is always a challenge, working on it constantly, and then my business schedule. And I am busier than I've ever been, even though, it's just, even though we've got the COVID quarantine and we follow all the rules, I just do everything from home now.
Yeah.
And, I used to travel. I used to be on the road 200, 250 nights a year.
Jeez.
I know. It's crazy.
But I'm busier now than ever. I just don't fly every day. And that's one of the things that I really miss. I mean, because I'm still doing the work. And the work is different. because it's all virtual, but the opportunity to meet new people, new interesting people that you don't even have to go looking for them. They will find you. And it's just some, excuse me, Mr. Walton, excuse me, Bill, excuse me.
Yeah.
And I tend to turn around and say, okay, what do you got? And I tell you, it's often very, very interesting and very rewarding.
Yeah.
And,
it's
never turn down those opportunities to listen to someone and to hear their story. And that's one of the beauties about the culture of the Grateful Dead. That sense of, okay, we're open. What do you got? It's your turn. And now we got Oteil step into the front. Boom! This Mr. here for a while and have the afro. I want to see the afro come back, man.
Would there be some grays in it, Oteil, do you think? Would you have?
Oh, yeah. My wife is the one shooting down the fro, man. I think when I did it last time, I had the mustache and the beard.
Oh,
and
wow.
Put one of those pictures up. Mike, put one of those pictures up.
Oh, shit,
yeah,
man,
actually, I can. I'll post some because I was thinking about doing an Afro series and just posting that on Instagram. But it makes me look older. I think if I grew the hair out, but not the facial hair, I might not look so much older. But she doesn't like to be reminded of my actual age.
I went 8 months without cutting my hair at all during this pandemic.
Pictures, please. Pictures.
Yeah, post that up.
Well, I'll have to ask Lori. I don't know how to do anything. I know how to turn the computer on. But
no, we could put them in afterwards. You just send them to have Lori. Please send them to us.
She will. And then, but I did shave. I did shave about every couple of weeks. And then, when I first joined the NBA 46 years ago, after 4 years with John Wooden at UCLA, and we had to cut our hair and shave every day, I went 2.5 years without cutting my hair or shaving.
Yeah, because I remember pictures of you with like locks. Yeah, it was cool.
I was the first guy in the NBA to ever wear a ponytail.
And did you have a beard but no mustache too?
Yeah.
Well, I can't grow a beard either, but I have the only beard in Western civilization that makes Bob Dylan's beard look good. So here it was, but I tried. And when I met Lori, all my friends, particularly Bob Costas, he said, Bill, you better burn all those old pictures.
I always thought that you were the coolest because you brought together like music and basketball. My dad and I, that's what we had to bond with, was his old records. We would listen to, The Who and Steely Dan and Led Zeppelin and the Grateful Dead, and I'm Yukon Husky. I'm in Husky territory up here. So late 80s, 90s.
Jim Calhoun, Gino.
That's right. Yeah. Calhoun was, so my dad and I, we would like listen to records and watch Saturday night UConn basketball on early ESPN days. And, we would.
Which school has won more men's basketball titles in the last 20 years than any other school?
Which school has?
Basketball titles in college.
I should know this.
UConn.
Yeah, UConn, right? That's what I thought. I thought this was a trick question, but yeah, absolutely.
You went to school there,
no,
right?
I went to a school. I went to Eastern Connecticut, which was a small school nearby. But yeah.
I got my master's degree on tour with the Grateful Dead.
Hell yeah!
And so, but I'm just always so inspired by the value and the importance of music and sports and what that does. And when we didn't have it for so long, think of when it first came back. And now we're getting more and more all the time, although it's every day is up in the air. But when you see these guys out there, you're playing again, and how happy they are, and the competition, the camaraderie, the intensity, the tenacity, all the things that go into becoming a great champion, and then transfer that to the next time that the Grateful Dead come on the stage to play a real show with fans in the arena. And to be in that arena that night.
When the lights go down, oh,
boy, that'll be streaming down our cheeks, man.
absolutely.
Whoa. Excitement, the anticipation, which is always at a fever pitch anyway. But to now, to be able to recover and move beyond. Now, we don't know when, we don't know where, we don't know how, but it's going to happen someday, sometime, someplace, somewhere, and I will be there.
Absolutely.
And
I know you.
I'll be deep in the pit, and I'll be, O'Teal, lay one down. Come on, comes the time. Here we go. Sing for us, O'Teal. Where's the horny hat? Where's the fake paint? Let's go, O'Teal.
I
Bill,
bet you're going to be at the front on that show, or you're going to be like, screw it, I'm at the front again.
Yeah, well, I used to get all the way to the front, but now it's a little. The problem with being right in the front is that you can't see the light show, and what Ted and productions do with the lights.
Yeah.
Chris has got with them. I can't. Jim or John, I think. Anyway, those the lights are the top spectacular. Pretty much like O'Teal coming with his throw down the lane.
Bill, you know what I always tell O'Teal I want to hear him sing is Mission in the Rain. I think O'Teal doing a Mission in the Rain would be pretty
I know that one now. I did it at the one gig I've had since.
Some folks would be so happy to have just one dream come true. All the things I tried to do, but only did halfway.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Walking in the mission. Do you know that guy, Jonathan Wilson? You know who Jonathan Wilson?
Mm-mm.
So anyway, this was before you got there, right? And this was before you got there, but after Jerry. And so we were going to all the shows, and it was Jimmy Herring and Warren Haynes and all the different guys, and John Kay, and a lot of different guys, right? And so it's at a show, and I think it was at the Universal Amphitheater in Los Angeles, off Los Feliz there, and it was spectacular and really fun. And during the show, this guy walks out on stage with a guitar, and they give him a microphone, and he sings magnificently. He sings Mission in the Rain, right? Out of nowhere, with no introduction, no comments, no acknowledgement by the rest of the band, right? Wow. And so the show was over, and I say, who was that guy? Oh, he's just some guy. And so he comes back a couple more times. I said, well, who was this guy? He said, oh, he sent in an MP3 file to the band's offices, and it sounded really good of him singing, so we had asked him to come and play with us one day. Right? And so he was around for a little while, and then his name was Jonathan Wilson, right? It turned out his name was Jonathan Wilson, and so he disappeared and never showed up again, right? And then we're on tour with Roger Waters, and we're on a three night run in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and everything. And every night we kept getting closer and closer, and it was just fantastic. We were having a great time. And Roger, he was doing his thing. And on the last night, he introduced the band, and he goes through everything in the band, and he gets to the guitar player, and he says, and on the guitar and vocals is Jonathan Wilson. And Lori and I look at each other, it's him.
Oh, wow.
He made it from sending in the MP3 file to the Grateful Dead to being the lead guitar player on the Roger Waters show. Wow. And it was just incredible. We fell out, man. You never know. That's why you got to read your mail. You got to answer your phone.
Read your mail.
Somebody says, hey, Bill. Hey, Mr. Walton. Hey, O'Teal.
Hey, man, I'll tell you a great story. This just happened to me. Oh, my God. So I'm going through my DMs because I do answer fans sometime, and they kind of freak out. But if someone has a legit question, especially throughout the George Floyd stuff, but even before that, I would answer them. I thought, sometimes it would be a bonehead, just like delete. So I'm going through to delete a bunch of stuff because it keeps filling up. And I come across this DM from Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played Bill Cosby's son on The Cosby Show. So I'm like, what? And he's like, yo, man, I played sixth string. I was wondering if you could help me figure this thing out. and I've been following you. I've been a fan for a long time. And I'm just like, did somebody dose me? I'm just like, what? So we've been texting back and forth, and we FaceTime together, and like, I'm just freaking. So I'm like, wow, I'm really glad that I checked my DMs, because, you know, one of the biggest TV stars of all time is like, and it's so funny because he's super nice. He has records out playing bass. He's a good bass player. He's into motorcycles like I am. He's became a father really late like I did. And so we're FaceTiming at midnight. I'm like, let me just show you this one thing. I won't keep you up all night. He gets up and he goes to grab his 6-string. He's wearing the same pajama pants. I was like, dude, no way. Like, we're like twins. Like, what's going on? So, yeah, check your DMs, you know, people that, you know, wow. Yeah, blew my mind.
Once in a while, you get shown the light in the strangest of places.
If you look at it right.
This has been my favorite episode.
I'm going to get rigor mortis here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
One thing real quick, super quick, that I wanted you to talk about, because it's come up recently with someone close to me that has a stuttering problem. Remember, you gave me the best like halftime pep talk when I was I was just like, and Bill got me all pepped up and sent me back into the game, and then I had the best show. And then after the show, I talked to my guys in the band, and I was like, man, Bill just gave me the most amazing pep talk. And it's like, yeah, hard to believe he used to be a stutterer, right? And I was like, what? No way. So please talk a little bit about that.
I'm a lifelong stutterer. Basketball was the easiest part of my life. Academics were the next easiest part. Straight A student the whole way through. My challenges have been orthopedic health. I've had 39 orthopedic operations. I spent half my life in the hospital. Both my ankles are fused. Both my knees are replaced. My spine has been reconstructed, rebuilt, and basically replaced as well. My hands and wrists don't work, and look at my face. Those of you who are still lucky enough to play basketball, don't play defense with your face, because this is what I broke my nose 14 times. I had my front teeth knocked out 10 different times. But of all the physical challenges that I've had, my greatest accomplishment in life is learning how to speak. And it's your worst nightmare. And I learned how to speak when I was 28 years old. And somebody, broadcaster, in what I thought at the time was a chance encounter, was this legendary Hall of Fame broadcaster. Marty Glickman is his name. He's passed away now, but he was the LeBron James of broadcasting when he was on top of the world. And he had a remarkable early life as the fastest kid on the block, which is the name of his book. He's from Brooklyn. He went to Syracuse on an athletic scholarship and was just a huge star on campus there. And then he made the U.S. Olympic team in 1936. And so he was over there in Berlin. And on the eve of the Olympics, Adolf Hitler and Avery had a meeting. Avery Brundage was then representing the United States of America, and they had a meeting on the eve of the Olympics, and Hitler told Brundage, hey, it's bad enough that you Americans brought all these black guys over here, but you brought all these Jewish guys over here too, and we just can't have that. So you and I make a deal, Brundage, right now. I will let you run the black guys. I'll let the black guys compete. But you have to agree that the Jewish guys will not be allowed to participate. Wow. And Brundage said yes. And so Marty Glickman, who was Jewish, Marty Glickman was denied his opportunity. And so his life was over. He was just decimated. He was just so depressed. But he battled his way back up. And when he got back to the United States, he said, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to make the world a better place. And so he went on to become the greatest broadcaster of the day. And a legendary, timeless broadcaster. And he worked with everybody. And we had a mutual friend. And we intersected at one point when I was 28 years old. And he came up to me and he said, Bill, I'm Marty Glickman. And I said, and I couldn't talk. He said, you come with me. And so we went and stood in the corner behind the potted plant, and he laid it out. In 5 minutes, he said, Bill, learning how to speak is a skill, and you've got to work on that. And this is how you can try to learn how to speak. And he just laid out 6 or 7 different steps. And then he said, take what I've just told you and apply those to the learning methods that you got from your great coaches, John Wooden, Lenny Wilkins, Jack Ramsey, Casey Jones, Denny Crum, Paul Silas, Gene Shue, Don Chaney, Red Auerbach, because you learned how to play basketball, Bill. If you learn how to play basketball, you can learn how to do anything, including learn how to speak. And so starting at 28, I learned how to speak, and I worked at it. I still work at it to this very day. And so I was there at Coach Wooden's house. You know who Coach Wooden is? You know who John Wooden is?
Yeah.
I recognize the name.
Okay. So anyway, he was our college coach, and he before he died, he was voted the greatest coach ever. Not the greatest basketball coach, not the greatest college coach, but the greatest coach ever. And so I spent a lot of time at his house. I was his easiest recruit to UCLA. I became his worst nightmare, and I drove the poor guy to an early grave at 99. But he was so old and so kind and so nice that he became the king of obituary because he knew everybody and he was willing to talk to the media all the way to the end, because he was totally on top of everything. And so I was there the day that Marty died, and the phone rang, and it was the Associated Press, and they wanted to do an interview about Marty Glickman to write the obituary. And so the guy comes over to the house, and we're sitting there, and I'm just in the corner watching, and the guy's writing down everything Coach Wooden was saying. Marty Glickman, incredible human being, a force of nature, and able to overcome the tragedy and the adversity of what happened to him in Berlin, and on how much he helped to make the world a better place, and on and on. And the guy's writing everything down dutifully. And then Coach Wooden stops, and he looks right at the guy, and he says, "But I'm really mad at Marty Glickman." And the guy's like, "Wait a second, Wooden irate at John Wooden irate at Marty Glickman." And Coach Wooden looks over at me in the corner, and he comes back to the reporter and says, "Yeah, Marty Glickman, he taught Bill Walton how to speak, but he didn't teach him how to stop talking." And so the story of me being able to learn how to speak, and I wish I had learned earlier, because nothing's going to change my life more. And I spend hours every day, mentoring young stutterers, old stutterers. I spend hours every day mentoring people, trying to talk them back from the edge, from the cliff, because when you have physical challenges, when you have the spine and nerve pain, when your body stops working, and you haven't had the success that I've had with these 39 operations to keep cool, and you're on the edge and you're ready to kill yourself. Your life is not worth it. And so I spend just countless hours on a regular basis doing trying to help people, and because I know how many people have helped me. My life in the early days was one of hope, opportunity, and purpose. When I found basketball, when I was young, I didn't know what I wanted. But when I was 8 years old, I found basketball. I said, "This is it. I got it. I could express myself. It was just perfect." And I didn't have to speak. And when I was 14 years old, I started playing against NBA players when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
I knew I was going to play in the NBA. And so that hope, opportunity, and purpose that I had as a child, that later on expanded to include pride, loyalty, and gratitude. Pride and satisfaction with their choices. I'm glad I'm here on Comes a Time. This is important to me because what you do for me and what you and your buddies have given me in my life. The loyalty. Do we care? And does any of this matter? Does the battle that's raging outside, is that important to you? Is it important to me? It is important to me. And I'm a loyal guy. And then the gratitude that acknowledges and respects and appreciates all the people who have come before us and given us this remarkable life, this incredible platform, and this ability to come and continue the drive and the push forward. And that's one of the reasons why I need so much, and just know the history and all the different stuff that's going down. And oh my God, shine the light, the bright side of the room. See what love can do. Waiting for a miracle. I want you to work on those. There you go. Thank you, Finoia, Ocho, yes, and Nigel, and Kavi, hello, and we miss you, and we love you, and we can't
Absolutely.
wait.
Thank you,
And I'll
Bill.
be there in the front row. Maybe not, because I like to be a little bit further.
See those lights.
So that I'm not blocking everybody. Because if I'm in the front row, I'm blocking everybody.
Well, we're happy to watch you, Bill.
Tell Lori I said hey, and please pet the doggy for me too.
Oh man, I want to be Lori's dog. And the next time we do this show, I got to tell you the story of the front row at a Jimmy Buffett concert. Oh my goodness.
We'll save that till next time.
You're on. Love you, man.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Bill.
much, Bill.
Okay, lay one down. Wearing helmets. Yes. Nice shirt, O'Teal. We love you.
Love you too, man. We'll see you soon.
On the dreams, you still believe.